So this is where we can get a little more interactive for questions for you guys. So best practices. I know a lot of you have questions about how fee schedules, spend plans are working. So we have some examples to show you. I want to kind of discuss and see where you guys are coming from. Please, online, WebEx, give some feedback, questions as well. So we're going to go through this. One thing I do want to cover is that in the rule, we are required to provide training to you. And so we are available at any time. If you have questions specific to what you are doing, call us. We can set up times to meet with you. We can go over what you have. We're going to be more than happy to sit down with you to do that. Another thing in the rule is that you are also required to provide training to your employees. And it's specific to their job duties. And so you need to create a plan for that to train them on the fee-related policies and what their responsibilities are. One thing is collaboration. This is all of us coming together to make this change. We know that this has not been an easy process, but we appreciate all of your efforts and what you guys have been doing to make this happen. And our final goal here is to create a system that parents and teachers and the LEA and the state board are all happy about. That is our goal, is to make it so that everyone is in a place, and there's always going to be people that aren't happy, but to create a system that we can all agree upon. Okay, so first, best practice. This is a fee schedule that we have from one of our LEAs. Couple things, and Ian and Tammy, please, if you have comments, jump in at any time. One thing that we like about this is this is just a portion of their fee schedule. They went and they have an exact amount for that activity. This is how much it will be for a parent, okay? And they broke down with each activity. This is what we're looking at. They have a little note there that, hey, there's a $40 participation fee for each one of these. Now, when you go to their spend plan, again, this is what we're looking at. So, spend plan, I guess I should stay with the camera, huh? Couple things is delineation versus spend plan. Some people have had some issues with. Delineation, we are looking at if there is a fee. So for the total fee for track and field, $275 is what they had on their fee schedule. That is what we want to see, is that total fee on the fee schedule is matching the total with your breakdown. So the delineation is when you have this and then it falls into multiple categories. So we have their participation fee, which they noted on the fee schedule. They have their apparel, their travel, and their meals. The spend plan is the portion that gives you that transparency. This is what a parent can look at and say, do I agree with this or not? And they can put forward their approval or disagreement in those public meetings. And so you want to be able to show that to the parent of, hey, depending on state travel, one night it's going to cost us this much. We have these many meals. We're looking at $10 for 10 meals. Your out-of-pocket would be $100. And that's where you have the discussion with the parents, is at those meetings, so that you can have that back and forth with them of, do they agree with this or not? And then based off of that, you can set up the fee schedule. But those portions where you do that breakdown, so for your apparel, this is the apparel that it's going to: t-shirt, jacket, shoes, wherever you want to break that down to, of where those amounts are actually going, okay? Any questions on that?
So it says all prices are estimates, so...
That is one thing that we disagree with this. They should not be estimates, which is why we picked this, so we can talk about that. These should be set amounts. So these are amounts that will not change, so a parent can open it up and say, hey, this is how much I know I will be paying for my student to participate in this activity. Now, there are things that you may not know an exact amount for. Put a disclaimer on that item. It should not be the whole thing. Okay, it should be a particular thing of, we're unsure of this, but we will notify you at this time frame. So long as you have that communication with parents of, we don't know right now, we're going to know around this time frame, and you notify them before they have to pay, then that's what we're looking for. Okay, I'm going to go to another one. Same type of thing. They had a breakdown. These are all the different, they even broke it into co-curricular. It was easier for them to do that, to set up their system, okay? When you click on, again, they had their max amounts, and this one actually has a link, so you could click to the actual spend plan. I'm going to let you look at this one for a minute. You make it bigger. Try. That help a little bit?
Yes, thank you.
So this one is just a different way of doing the delineation with the spend plan, okay? Their delineation, they have their total, and they even broke it down for this activity. This is how much for the boys and for the girls. When you look at this as a parent, I can come in and say, oh, well, why is there a difference? It comes down to the uniform, but that is given to me in that delineation. Okay, then we come over here to, hey, this is the spend plan. This is what that amount is actually going towards. And so we're going to be using it for, the men's tux, slacks. This is why theirs cost more, where the girls is just the dress. Okay? And so that's the type of transparency we're trying to provide to parents on the fee schedule with the spend plan and the delineation. Other thing you'll notice is fundraising offered. This is why we picked this one up, okay? Now we discussed fundraising a little bit, okay? And those that are not required do not have to be here. These guys have opted to list the individual fundraising that is not required, but they have a disclaimer of, hey, it is individual. We are hoping to raise this amount, but there's a disclaimer at the bottom here that this is what we're looking to help offset this $850 cost. And so as a parent, I can come in and say, hey, this is kind of expensive. I don't know if I can afford that. But if my student participates in a fundraiser or they do their own individual or group fundraiser, I may not have to pay that full $850. That is what we were hoping for. So a parent can come and decide, is that something that my child is available to do? Is that something that I agree with? Okay. Now the way that you set this up is individualized to what works for you. You want something that a parent can read and understand and can actually be able to make sense of. And there's a lot that had pages and pages, and it's just too much information. You want to provide something that is simple and easy to understand for a parent. You don't want to have something that's complicated and has so many line items that they don't know what you're talking about. You want to give them a total and then provide a breakdown of where these things are going. Yes.
So on the tour, you don't have to break it down any more than that for like meals or things like that?
Now you should, so over here they do have bus transportation, meals, housing, but so long as you broke it down from that full total of, hey, this is a portion of this, then yes, this.
You don't have to say, $50 is transportation, 100. You don't have to break it all the way down when you do that.
When you break down, it probably more aligns with your object codes that you have in chart of accounts. And so we I originally had that in there, and we stepped back from it because of some people had. So I think you want to make it as clear as possible. Right. But no, we're not going to ding anybody as long as they do have the descriptions there. I mean, it's not, we backed away from that in the original discussions.
Okay.
The spend plans have to be available with the fee schedule and the registration packet, or just in those open meetings?
Schedule and spend plans should be one document. So they should be, so the one previous that I had, because I made it bigger. This one, they actually had, this was their fee schedule, so they had their first page, but then as you scrolled down in the document, it brought up their spend plan. And so it wasn't right there initially on the first fee schedule page, but they had a note for further breakdown, see further in the document. Yeah, or with the other one that they had it linked online. They had a note there saying, please click on the fee for further breakdown of the amounts. Any questions? Fantastic. Okay, if you guys do have questions that come up, please let us know. We're happy to help. And we know there's been a lot of back and forth, and we have also been trying to clarify and understand where you guys are coming from as well and what you guys have been dealing with. And so we appreciate that feedback and are here to help out and to make this as easy as possible as we can. We have a WebEx question. Yes.
Yeah, do we need to show anticipated fundraising amounts if the funds are not reducing the student? For example, a baseball banquet fundraiser that helps support capital costs for the baseball program.
Again, facts matter in things. So a banquet, are the students involved in that banquet, or is this just for the community and the parents to get together? Then the group fundraiser, and then is it a required fundraiser? So if it is a required group fundraiser, yes, the amount has to be on the fee schedule. But if this is just a community type of, the students aren't setting up the tables, the students aren't washing dishes, the parents aren't bringing the food, it's just a sponsored act, you can come buy a ticket to support, then that does not have to be on. So the facts matter in these things, and that's kind of that continuum of risk. How much involve the students? How is it talked about? Is it high risk, low risk? Then you can decide which way you want to go with that.
And the implied pressure as well.
The applied pressure on as well.
So if there's that fundraiser and the coach is, hey, if you don't come to this optional fundraiser, then you can't play on the team. It becomes required. And so you have to be very careful about how you talk about those activities as well to make sure that there is that clear understanding that it is optional if you're going to do it that way and not have it on the fee schedule. But if it is something that the student is required to be a part of, then you do need to have that there. Another WebEx question.
If our fee includes meals and if the student does not eat, then do we have to refund the meal money included in?
I don't know if we've had that discussion yet, specifically about that.
I think the refunds, or whether you have to go, it comes down to what guardrails are we going to put on this? Is this a fee restricted funds for the student, or is it for the program? And I think that I would right now I would not say that, but we do have these additional requirements coming up, and that might kind of push those guardrails in a little bit. So is that a good non-answer? Like thumbs up on a non-answer.
It was kind of a non-answer because once you start putting in spend plans and we become specific with things, if we become too specific, then people can start to say, well, I didn't use that part, so what's my refund?
Yeah, I think that's...
Whereas before, when we were very general, fee for football was $400. And you start to say, well, my kid didn't do this piece, so I want my money back for that. But now they can look specifically at these spend plans and say, well, we didn't do this part, and we didn't do this part, and we didn't do this part. So some feedback of saying to us, yes, this is kind of what we're spending, but when they pay for the money, it's yours.
Well, and I also think it opens up the opportunity for you to talk about how important those meetings are to the parents, because they need to understand that that's where they can come and voice their concerns. So if they feel like their student's not going to participate in an activity, that's where they need to be having those discussions with you so that you can create a policy to go in line with where their concerns are. Of, hey, if we're going to run into this, we need to have this discussed before we establish the fee schedule, before we set this policy, so that we know where the parents are coming from.
I have a question with meals. We have meals listed on there, an estimate, the $10 per meal, whatever. We did not plan on collecting that from the parents at the beginning. We just said, this is what you need to plan for. If you're going, we're not collecting that fee from the parent.
Yeah.
The student would bring the money every trip and plan on about
$10. It's required that they have a meal, and you're going to have a meal. The issue comes with the fee waiver students. They're on that same trip. Is the coach just using his card or whatever, purchasing card or whatever to go with? But again, you're kind of singling out students. So a lot of these questions are going to have to be answered individually at the schools. But we just want to make sure that the students are. We come back to those guiding principles then, rather than trying to say, you need to do this. Because, what works in Moab may not work in Granite School District, and so forth. So I think I'd just be very cognizant of that and how to set it up. So, again, a non-answer.
If you're not going to provide the food and the student has to bring the food or the money for their meal, do you have to include that in your spend plan?
You have to include the meals in the spend plan. And again, it comes back to that your policy, this refund, whether or not you're going to refund. Just state right in your policy, this fee is collected and it will not be refunded. It is expected that if the student goes, he's going to be away for a meal, that he will participate in the meal. And just, be very explicit up front. Okay, I got one here, then I'll come to the WebEx. Okay.
So with just going along this question, so you take a football team out to dinner and you have an anticipated, $10 for a meal, but some of those kids are going to eat How do we deal with the 20? They go, we're not, we don't collect the money, so they're just spending it. They're choosing to spend more than what we.
Yeah, again, you have to provide for that fee waiver student. If the other students are paying 20, you don't want to make sure, because we have this question a lot, and it's like, so you might have to change how you're doing things. After the football game, the whole team goes out to dinner. Well, then you've got to be able to pay for the fee waiver students that are on that football team, and if they're having a hot dog and everybody else is having a steak, that's probably a problem. Okay, but if they choose to have a chicken, so you got to, what is working? I mean, it's got to work to be aware of those things and start thinking maybe of a way, or have a, you could have a catered banquet, you can have a catered meal come in every time after the football game. I don't know. You've got to figure out ways that you can help the students be a part of it and not be singled out there on the fee waivers. So the WebEx question.
Yeah, so there's a couple of them. This is going back to the question about returning money and that sort of thing. So it may have already been answered, but I think there's the question is, in our public meetings, we've had parents ask if they would be refunded if their child did not go on all the trips. So it's not just, I guess, maybe, and I could be wrong, Carrie, so if I'm wrong, please explain, but I think the question is, if they're not planning on going on all of it, do they have to still pay the entire fee if they're only going to be able to go on a certain amount? That's the question. Yes, so I got it right. And then the other part of it is, we also had a parent say that their child has to bring their own special food due to food allergies. What then? Or if they get sick and are unable to go on the trip. That's the other part of it. Like if they can't participate with the scheduled, already on the fee schedule activities part of the group, is there a refund? Is there a partial fee that they pay? What happens there? And then if they have food allergies, what happens there?
Yeah, I think on the food allergy, that's very much a local, kind of get on this continuum of that risk. That coach is very much aware of it. I would not charge the kid the food part of the fee then. And not only that, he's going to bring it every time, and his parents, but right up front, the parent's going to know that, and the student's going to know that. And so, yeah, I would make him pay for the meals if he's going to bring his own every time. I mean, that's something you can work on at local level. Now, Carrie, on your question on the refunds, the refund is it the code or the rule that's got refund in it? And it has to do with that it can't be, the fee cannot be greater than the expense, which we got to define what expense means and what program it means. And those things aren't there yet. Funding is in the. Okay, I'll find it. I was reading it last week with the 113, and so I will find it.
School fees rules that addresses that.
Okay, Carrie, I'll get that back to you and get you some specifics on that. But refund is mentioned in the code, and so but again, we haven't put the guardrails yet on what that is meaning. We've got to have it defined this summer before we train next year, because that affects the following fee, how fees are and our monitoring of them, yes.
So maybe another little twist to that is what happens if the student is injured and unable to whatever the activity is.
Right.
Sorry, I'm just trying to throw.
Well, I think that's a very the football uniform. You get injured in the first game. They get to use the uniform, but this is some cost. You've already paid for the uniform, and so I think that there needs to be. These are some guardrails that I think. If you want, we as a state, we come and make a rule and policies, it's going to be, we're going to do that. But I think there's some judgment here that can be made. But again, just be very clear in your policies that you're not going to refund it, or if you are going to refund it, and then be consistent on how you administer that policy to your students. But we were reading a policy yesterday. I've got a hotline. Actually, I'm trying to answer. And I got reading the policy on travel. It was about a travel trip, getting a refund on some travel. And I'm like, the policy stops mid-sentence. And so it's like, well, your policy doesn't state that they can't get a refund. So state it in your policy and just be consistent and giving it out. Okay, anything else on the web? Okay, all right.
This is not a question, this is kind of just how our district is handled. Maybe one of the questions that was brought by this gentleman. We determined that obviously with the large amount of fee waiver kids, and we had a number of trips that were food on your own. And so as a district, we decided we could no longer do food on your own. The hardship with that is you can't always do group meals, and or the bus pulls into, and there's you can't get all your kids into one place. And so we determined that what we have to do is we obviously have to collect the money, like with the fee here for meals. But then the bookkeeper or an administrator on these food on your own situations will meet the bus before the kids leave and give them their amount, which our travel office has determined is the amount of money per a lunch or dinner that the kids have. That way, if they choose to go more at Disneyland and they want to spend $20 on a meal, but they've determined that the meal for Disneyland is $15. If there are 3 meals at Disneyland, then they would be given $45 before they leave on that bus. It's a little bit of a hassle because we don't love having people at 5 o'clock in the morning meeting the kids before they fly off on a drill trip. But that's the way we've determined that we have to do that so that the fee waiver kids aren't singled out as the fee waiver kids, here's your money, or you get to eat with the coach.
Do you just have them sign for the money?
And they sign for the money. We actually put it in an envelope. The amount of money's on the envelope. The kids sign it, they've received the money, and they take that on the trip. And we've already ascertained, almost like we do as adults when we travel, that we get a per diem. And the goal of our district is that wherever possible, it's a team meal. But where it's not, then the kids have money. And that it's a little bit of hassle, but it's the only way when you have almost 50% of your kids on fee waiver that you try not to identify those kids that we've kind of in the past been saying, you're on your own, and how do they provide for their own meals? So hopefully we've solved it a little bit. We're addressing.
That's great. I love that. A great example.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
You track that like petty cash? Like if you were paying someone from the office out of cash? Or how would you track that much cash?
It goes through, we go through whenever we do trips, we're a larger district, so we go through the district office. The district office, we let them know because they will go through and check it with the bank. So we track it through, and then we have a bookkeeper that signs it out for the kids and gets it through the cash. The administrator picks it up, takes it through.
Okay.
Well, we've heard of districts using cards, so they have cash cards that each one of the kids has.
We
We
actually thought about that, and there were some reasons that we had to go. That sounded really good initially.
Right.
But yeah, there's some costs and there's some quirks with that, yeah. Question here, anything else? Now, just so you know, I'm an accountant, and I like the right justified, and some of these have cents and some don't, and doing .00, why you put the cents on? Just FYI, just wanted to share that pet peeve with y'all. Okay.
So this is just what it states in the rule, is that the goal is to provide transparency, not just to parents and students, but to employees as well. So your teacher should understand and be able to look at this in the administration. And then, yeah, so 407.13 is where it talks about the SWIM plan. Resources, I kind of want to go over that a little bit. I don't know how many of you have been able to take a look at the website. So we are actually...
All right,
Okay, I'm just going to walk you through this. So this is the school fees website. We have the front page, school fees. But this is a public resource. We want you to send your parents here. We want you to send employees. We will have trainings available. So on here, we have our overview. This provides you a link to the code, the permanent injunction, as well as the rule. And so these are updated as of, I think they actually went through and have updated all of them now. All of our contact information is always here at the bottom, so you can reach out to any one of us, or parents or employees can reach out to us with any questions. Certificate of compliance. Excuse me. We will have a sample, so when we get these forms finalized with the certificate of compliance, there will be a sample here that you can click on and go through and review, so you know you've gathered the correct information and you have that all available here. And then there's also just, we broke down what it is that is required. And this is not updated as of the latest. We will do that once it gets closer to the October submission. And then resources and frequently asked questions. We have recently changed this, and it will continue to develop and grow. This is where we keep our informational papers. So, and again, this is available for employees of LEAs as well as parents. So please, if your parents have questions, send them to this website. Have them look at the information here. There's frequently asked questions that are geared. The first one is specifically geared for the LEA. The next one, we actually have that for parents. And so if you want to have something like this available in your offices, in your schools, please let them know. We actually will be creating a video, but DWS has asked for this so that they can hand out to parents so they know for those that can apply for fee waivers, so they have this information. Advanced placement, credit recovery, fee waiver eligibility. We have some more that we just wrote down from the trainings that we'll be putting out on the website of the informational papers. So if you guys have questions and you need something more, let us know and we can create a document so you can have in reference for future use as well. Some of the spend plans that we referenced today, I have linked on the website here, as well as we will continue to have additional ones as we go through and review, and ones that we can provide to you to give examples. And so there's spend plans, there's fee schedules, so you guys can take a look and browse through what other districts have done. And again, as they're approved and we've gone review, we will post more here, so you guys will have those. Forms. These are all of the notices, posters, fee waiver applications. The fee waiver decision and appeal form has been updated, as well as the service agreement. The service agreement used to be 3 separate documents. It has now been combined into one document and approved by the board. But it is basically if your LEA decides to do service in lieu of fee, have an agreement where you can go sign that, and then there's a verification section. You can verify that the student completed that, and then there's an appeal if for some reason the parent, something came up and they now disagree with the disagreement. All of that is in one form now, as well as, I believe the waiver decision and appeal form was always one. And so if you guys have questions on those, let us know. And the fee waiver application, I believe the USDA will update their numbers the end of March is what we're looking for. And so as soon as those fee numbers are updated, we will put that and update the fee waiver application. And right now you can see revised 2/6 of 20, that's when we updated the document. When we update those numbers for the eligibility and the income eligibility, that will change as to a new revised date. So then you will know that that has been updated. We have the model policy, which you guys received a printout, or there was an email with that. And so you are always welcome to reference that. Hopefully you guys have taken a look at that. I believe there's a fundraising one that we're still looking at. A couple different things will come on here. Training, this is the video that we put out. We will have additional trainings on here. So we are looking for some more videos that we'll be putting out, as well as Canvas trainings that will hopefully help you in your plan to train your employees as well. And so if you guys have additional questions or would like a more interactive training that you can access online, let us know, and we can look at creating that. And this school fees contacts, this is going to take us a little time to develop what we're looking into with IT. It's a little more involved than we originally thought, but this is the information that you guys have provided to us for your local school fee contact. So the goal that we have here is that a parent can get onto this website, and if they have questions specific to that LEA that they live in, where their school resides, they can contact this individual. And then that person at that point can either answer their question or refer them out to the best individual that would be able to help them with that, or send it back to us if it's something that is more broad than just an LEA issue. And so, but the goal is to make it so that you guys are helping address the local issues and you can see the concerns in your office. And again, if you guys have something that comes up, please contact us. We're always available, me, Tammy, Ian, to help answer questions via phone, email, or even just set up a meeting for that.